Just a moment. So, hello and welcome, guys, to a special broadcast in Gaurav Ayyan's channel. What a day it was for India. First, they were put into tremendous pressure by the pacers of New Zealand, Kyle Jamieson, and Team Southee, doing the bulk of the bowling, the spinners as well. But then, what a comeback! Ravi Jadeja and Shreyas Iyer was playing his first game, made an impression, and what a player he was. Today, he just batted incredibly well under severe pressure. At one moment, India were staring down the barrel, but definitely Jadeja and Iyer saved the day for India. And I've got my friend Adam. All the way from New Zealand. Welcome, Adam, and what a day it was, full of events.
Yeah, it was. It was great to see some Test cricket for a change. I feel like we've just been watching T20 cricket like non-stop for the last month. So yeah, it was interesting changing to like the pace of the Test match. Yeah, what an interesting day. I mean, obviously there were lots of talking points before the game, in particular like New Zealand's selection going into the game. Kyle Jamieson was picked ahead of Mel Wagner, and Rachin Ravindra was selected to make his debut in this Test match. So many like talking points going into it, and obviously we know that India rested a lot of key players for this match as well. So there was a lot of interest to see how it would play out and who the key players ended up being. And I thought it was an exceptional day of Test cricket. And look, I think that at the end of the day's play, I would say India are in front at the moment. There were signs that the pitch had some issues with it. I mean, there was that delivery that Ajaz Patel bowled that kept really low. I think it was his second delivery that he bowled, and it was like in the 8th over. It looks like the pitch is already playing tricks early on the first day, and we think about the amount of turn that some of the New Zealand bowlers were getting, and that's only going to increase as the pitch starts to dry out. I'd imagine the Indian bowlers will be licking their lips looking at what they've seen today.
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant day. And if you look at the bowling effort of New Zealand definitely they were disappointed by losing the toss once again. But then you cannot control the toss. Bowling first on that wicket, Kyle Jamieson bowled his heart out the way he pitched it up and got that swing. I'm slightly surprised that they've gone with Rachin Ravindran and not their wily old horse in Neil Wagner. Do you think that may backfire, or do you think three spinners are needed on this track?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, obviously, looking at the New Zealand bowling performance, the spinners haven't really been able to fire a shot. Also, we look at the attack the Indian batsmen posed against the New Zealand spin bowlers, and New Zealand spin bowlers just weren't able to really trouble the Indian batsmen. So I guess at the moment, Neil Wagner would be someone that New Zealand would love to have in the bowling arsenal right now, because I think at the moment the spinners don't look like taking a wicket, and they in the end of the day they reverted to negative lines, but bowling around the wicket and obviously being at the end of the day being told off by the umpires. So look, I think they probably wish that Neil Wagner was part of the lineup. I think going with three spinners, to be honest, on that wicket was probably the right decision. But I mean, they just haven't bowled it well enough. It looks like they've been underdone, to be honest. I mean, Will Somerville hasn't played a first-class match this season. Ajaz Patel, from memory, I don't think he's played this season at all. So I think the New Zealand spinners do look a little underprepared going into this match. But that's no excuse, though.
And we've also got my special friend from Adelaide, who is also a candidate to captain Australia in the Ashes. I've got Lucas with me. Lucas, how are you?
Very fantastic. Gaurav said, you're on the bus, mate. You can still talk and all of that. So I'm on a bus. I have to wear masks in buses. I don't know if that's the case for you, Adam, in New Zealand. But that's the case here. I have to wear masks in transport, but we're hell with that. I'll still give my opinion on this game. I had cricket training in the second and third session, so I missed that. So I do apologise up front if I look stupid here. Probably too late already.
No.
But I
Yeah,
thought
okay.
I thought Cole Jamienson was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
We now have to consider him. He's now a top 3 bowler. He's right up there with Cummins. He's right up there with Hazelwood. He was no doubt the best of New Zealand bowlers. I'm very disappointed with Southee because they went with him over Wagner, which is ridiculous. I think if you made a pitch and dropped it in China and you played 2 teams, I think you'd pick Wagner over Southee 10 times out of 10. I think they missed that trick badly. Southee didn't bowl too bad in his first spell, but he Jamienson bowling that tight line, fantastic in his first spell. It would have been the X factor. Wagner bowling short balls to back up Jamienson, and I think with Wagner, he's an X factor player. You need those X factor players to win in series like this overseas, especially in India, especially in Australia, especially England. You need X factor players. Test World Championship final. Neil Wagner was playing in that. So it's just a little bit of a mystery that why he wasn't picked. And I think New Zealand dropped the ball on that, to be quite frankly, because you just need to play your X factor players in these kind of situations. He could have been the difference. His line and length is suited on these dead pitches. And he's a workhorse. He bowls a lot of overs. I think he's one of those players that likes to bowl, loves to bowl long overs. And I think that was sadly missed by New Zealand today.
Yes, absolutely. I just felt that they wanted more control and they wanted to use the experience of Tim Southee, who bowled really well in the T20 game. So my thing, Adam, is I feel maybe New Zealand could have, I don't know about this, but I have a gut feeling that if they would have protected Lockie Ferguson or Adam Mill for the test matches, just one off, uh, could you take that punt of adding Lockie Ferguson, even though the test matches have started and he's nowhere near the test team, but could you have played as a captain? Maybe tried something different. Anyways, playing against India is too big task. Maybe try Ferguson or Mill.
Look,
Only
I'm a massive fan of Lockie Ferguson, and he's got a great first class record actually back home. Obviously, he made his test debut a few seasons back against Australia, but ended up having to finish the match earlier because he got injured. I just don't think he fits in the New Zealand team right now, unfortunately. Like, I really, really like him, but with the makeup of the team and the fact that you've got Southee, Bolt, Wagner, and Jamienson now, it's pretty much a 4-long pace attack. So I just don't know where he fits in there.
No, only because of this test match. I'm just talking about 2 test matches in India. That's it. Just the express pace he had.
I think there's always going to be concerns around Lockie Ferguson's injury record, and I think also as well whether he can sustain long periods at test level at this stage. He's obviously coming off an IPL where he got injured, and he's had a diet of short form cricket. So I think probably at this stage, just for a one-off test without much cricket under his belt would have been a really risky move. Just regarding the Tim Southee over Wagner selection, look, there is a really interesting one, and Tim Southee's record in age is actually really good. But then again, like, I understand like how people would support Neil Wagner in making the side. Like, to be honest, before the test match, I actually thought that Jamienson might have been the one that was going to be left out. I really did. Based on experience, based on the fact that Wagner's like that spark of energy to the New Zealand attack, and he's been that guy for the last few years. And I remember a test match against Pakistan where on the final day he just bowled such a long spell, had so much energy, and though he didn't get a bag of wickets, I felt like his energy and his kind of way he bowled and the pressure that he put on the Pakistan batsmen in that test match actually allowed the spinners at the other end to do their job, and then in the end, they were the ones that got the wickets. So I do understand how he's missed. I guess it's how you get everybody into the attack. The other option for New Zealand might have been leaving Ajaz Patel out, play Mitchell Santner, and then play Neil Wagner as well, because we need to also remember that Ravindra is not a specialist frontline spinner. He is still part-time. Though I'm not a massive fan of Mitchell Santner as a red ball cricketer, I'm not, to be honest, and like he's got a poor first-class record. He hasn't really been given a great opportunity to bowl in Asian conditions either. He doesn't really tend to bowl a lot in New Zealand because the nature of our wickets don't tend to do wickets that break up on day 4 and 5 of Test matches. So if New Zealand wanted to have a spinner that was just there to like control the match, then Mitchell Santner would have been the guy. Because as we've seen in this Test match, Ajaz Patel has struggled at times, especially with his length, and the Indian batsmen have been out of cash in.
Yes, absolutely. What do you feel, Lucas? Tomorrow is a big day for India and for New Zealand. At what tone will New Zealand feel comfortable, or India, for that matter? 330.
Well, how many times have we seen India make 300, 350, then the opposition team comes out to bat and it turns into an absolute minefield? How many times have we seen that in India? It's hard to say if again, one of these pitches will do that. We'll turn into an absolute minefield and then India get rolled for 100, 150 and have to bat again. I think New Zealand would want to get them out before 300. They want to try to get at that Jadeja, and forgive me the pronunciation here, with Iyer, who has been fantastic on debut. Fantastic. So they want to get them out the way, and then you get into the tail. We know India's tail is not the greatest in the world. So I think below 300 would be a win. But like I just said, how many times have we seen opposition do that, bowl India out for 300, 350, then get rolled for 150 next innings, where the pitch becomes absolutely unplayable. So I think New Zealand, regardless, have to bat extremely well. I think there has to be a lot of pressure on not just Kane Williamson, but Ross Taylor and Tom Latham, because they're the most experienced batsmen. They're probably the most experienced that have faced spin. The other batsmen in New Zealand probably will not have faced spin like this. This is the real deal now. This is not some fun and hit game switch. You have to belt through like this is proper cricket, and a lot of these players are untested against this quality of spin. Jadeja, Ashwin, world class bowlers. And you think, oh well, at least we got them out of the way. Out comes Axar, who averages 10. This is ridiculous, absolutely insane. So it's going to be extremely, extremely tough for New Zealand to make inroads. They have to bat very well. I think someone needs to make a century, and I just don't think they've got that in them. I just think the pitch is going to explode, because I haven't seen any evidence of previous tours where it stays like this. So I think it's going to be very tough for New Zealand to get back into this game until we see otherwise from a pitch. Sorry, Adam.
Yeah, it'll be very difficult. It'll be very difficult for New Zealand, and I'm just hoping. I just want to see one man bat. That is Will Young, who is going to open the batting. Fantastic cricketer. I mean, I just love him to bits. Plays for Central Stags. Adam will just rectify me if I'm wrong, but he's a quality man, and I just feel he is the number 4, the future number 4. Once Ross Taylor hangs up his boots, definitely Will Young will dominate world cricket. What do you think, Adam? What are your thoughts on Will Young? Because he's a prospect and Indian audiences don't know much about him, but he has shown his quality in England already.
Yeah. Actually, interesting that you say that he should bat at number 4, because he started out his career kind of like 3 and 4 for Central Stags, and he's kind of ended up becoming like a makeshift opener. And New Zealand experimented with him at the top of the order, and he's really earned his stripes in New Zealand domestic cricket over the last couple of years. He had issues with his conversion rate, had a lot of 50s, wasn't converting them into 100s, but over the last couple of years, he seems like he's really fixed on that. And he can build big scores once he gets going. And you're right, like in his Test debut in England, like he looked really assured. And he looked like every inch an international cricketer. Interesting that you talk about him slotting to number 4 slot, say once Ross Taylor leaves. There are lots of thoughts that Devon Conway would actually fit into that spot, because Devon Conway in first class cricket doesn't actually open the batting. He's actually put up the order because there was obviously a slot available, and we know what he did in his Test debut. So I think probably at this stage, once he comes back from injury, he probably slots into the opening spot again. possibly maybe he will go down to number 4 at some stage. But yeah, it's funny how New Zealand's kind of suddenly out of nowhere found like a quality opening batsman to bat alongside Tom Latham, really by accident in a way.
Yeah, Lucas, what do you feel about Will Young?
Well, Will Young's an exciting prospect. Sorry if this camera gets a bit shaky. Very exciting prospect. But Adam also mentioned Devon Conway. You know, even if Devon Conway, sorry, even if Conway was playing as opening, even him as like Will Young, they're not used to spin of this quality. So a lot of responsibility would have to go on them to be able to handle spin like this. You know, Conway was good in the T20 World Cup. Unfortunately, he's been injured. But, you know, like I said, this is different. Now, Will Young, I think, is a very good prospect, and no doubt he'll do well in native New Zealand, growing up on bowling-friendly conditions. But conditions here are very tough for any batsman, not just whether you're Steve Smith, Kane Williamson, anyone. It's very tough to go against this quality of bowling. We saw that last year with England. You know, Joe Root, you know, made a ton of these runs. He made the 200 in the first innings. After that first innings, after that first Test match, he badly made a run. You know, so even someone like Joe Root, who's right hot red form, Joe Root, peak of his powers, you know, he's really struggled after that first Test match to adapt to the spin. And for Will Young, you know, I don't want to put the kid down. You know, he's a very good prospect. You know, he'll probably come in after Ross Taylor, most likely will do. You know, I don't want to disrespect anyone, but this is going to be a very tough series for him if this pitch plays up.
Yeah, the reason I said Will Young, because Will Young I have seen scoring runs in Bangladesh, where they won, they were defeated 2-3, but I guess the kind of strokes he had against Saqib al Hasan, that spin drill that New Zealand received, and he was one of the standouts. I was surprised to see the kind of feet movement, and absolutely. And he's the kind of a player who plays with soft hands, and I've seen him score runs in Bangladesh. Yes, exactly, as you mentioned, that different bowling attack, standard of bowling attack, but I don't think, apart from India, if he goes to Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, he will dominate the spin. The kind of
absolutely, well, absolutely. As you mean in Bangladesh, he was fantastic in Bangladesh. But like I said, with all due respect to the Bangladesh spinners, you know, their pitchers are kind of ranked turners, not really. They're in between. He will not face this quality of bowling. Nobody will, except for Kane Williamson and Ross Taylor, because they've been there in the past. And from, Adam might have to correct me here, but from experiences, Williamson and Taylor were not that good when they last came here, from memory. I don't think they were terrible, but they didn't make big runs. They didn't really impact the scoreboard. So it's so much harder down here, you know. Even Steve Smith, you know, when he made that brilliant 100 in Pune, after that he struggled big time. You know, people say he had a great series. He didn't really have he had a good match, but he had a bad series. After that series, he couldn't make a run. After that match where he made the Pune 100, he couldn't make a run. It's that hard down here with this quality of bowling. But Will Young could surprise us all. I just hope we don't see what happened against the West Indies, where it turned into an absolute spin fest. And the match was over before it began. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see Joe Root take 5 with the Hawks. I want to see players like Will Young, you know, benefit out of this game. You know, getting minefield deliveries like we saw against England and India with Axel Patel. You know, that benefits really nobody. And Will Young is still young in his career. And getting that kind of pitches doesn't really benefit anybody. And I just hope that he gets his chance to bat, and it's not one of those cases where he gets out to an absolute minefield where it spins 100 meters back into his stumps. You know, that doesn't benefit anybody.
And Adam, what do you think about this Indian bowling attack? Are you fearful of it? Do you think that this bowling attack will trouble the Kiwis? How do you rate this Indian bowling attack?
Sorry, you're just breaking up at the moment.
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
You're breaking up.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
I wanted to ask. I wanted to ask, how do you rate this bowling attack of India?
Sorry, mate. I can't hear you.
Okay, you're not able to hear me? Wait. I need to bring it again. He's freezed, I guess. Yeah. So yes, we are talking about the impact that Indian bowling attack can create. India have quality spinners. Adam, can you hear us or no?
You were breaking up, but I think from what I gathered, you were asking me about the Indian bowling lineup.
Yeah.
The bowling lineup.
Yeah.
Look, I think you.
Yeah, Lucas. So we'll be discussing the game, and yes,
Yeah.
it was. Yeah. Do you think Lucas winning the toss plays a massive part in the subcontinent?
Of course it does. Like anywhere else, like in England, where you bowl first. In New Zealand, where you see green tops, where you bowl first. India is just as much as dependent on the toss than anywhere else. Having said that, England in the England-India series, England did win a couple of series. Sorry, did win a couple of tosses in that series, and they lost, especially that absolute minefield pitch in the I think it was the second test, where 20 wickets fell in one day. Of course, just like anywhere else, I'm not particularly a fan of that, where it's not a dictated match. But unfortunately, we're Indians, they doctor pitches. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. England curators doctor their pitches with green tops bowling friendly conditions. Australia doctor their pitches with dropping wickets. There's nothing wrong with that per se. I don't have a problem with that. If New Zealand or whoever's throwing India don't want to doctor their own pitches at Sheffield Shield level, that's their own problem. But a toss, is too important these days. Too important for playing good. But there has been cases where you do win the toss at Test match level, and you still can win if you don't win it. We saw in the T20 World Cup, winning the toss was huge, absolutely massive, because everyone wanted to bowl first, because they wanted to see what the pitch would do. And I don't think that kind of thing is acceptable at Test match level. You can get away with the T20, that's fine, but on Test matches you don't really want to see that. So I'm just glad, you can lose a toss in India and you can still win. I think that's good for the game.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Thank you, Lucas, for joining us. Very valuable inputs from you. We learned a lot about how tosses are important. So the thing is, this is like time to wrap up the show. We had a great time talking to you and Adam. Unfortunately, Michael Wagner was not able to join us. And so, Lucas, hopefully your cricket is going good and you can definitely crack it to that Australian side and bat at number 5 in the upcoming Access series at Adelaide. We hope that you make your debut.
I'll tell you what, the way that the Redbacks have been going, there wouldn't be beyond doubt, I'd be in that team, the way they've been going, for goodness sake, stinking up the joint, getting bowled out twice in one day. How the hell does that happen? But it's always a pleasure. Thank you for Adam that was here. I'm sorry that he had technical issues, but we always enjoy our friends and our guests on here. We look forward to his output tomorrow as well.
Yes. You can follow Lucas on Twitter as well. And thank you, Lucas. It's time to wrap up. Thank you, guys, and keep watching Gaurav Iyer Show and YouTube channel. Do subscribe.